What's going on, guys? It's Jared Curry here, and today I'm with Brandon C, and we are at the 10X Growth Conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Brandon is a phenomenal e-commerce investor, and he closes high-ticket sales. So, Brandon, do you mind telling the audience and my viewers out there exactly what high-ticket closing is, and what exactly do you do?
So mainly, closing high ticket, I would say, simply put, is to help someone make a decision that's best for them. Even if they come up with a lot of excuses and like ways not to do it, it's like the closer, whoever is closing the high ticket, shows them the value of how exactly whatever you're closing, maybe your service or your product, can be of benefit to that person.
Okay. Now, tell me a little bit more about your story, because we never really dived into that. What brought you into the high-tech closing space, as well as the e-commerce space? And from a young age, were you one of those kids where you had a lemonade stand at the age of 10? Were you like a natural-born entrepreneur, or did one day something just change?
Yeah. So I was never really a natural-born entrepreneur. In fact, that never really even existed in my world. It's pretty funny, because then it's like, I think.
What world did you come from?
It was like, video games and like school and all that. I was rebellious, right? So I had that. However, I had an idea. I remember I always had these memories where when I was a kid, I always do that. I want to do something big. Like I remember like some like quick memories. Like for example, I was chilling with my mom one time. I think I was still like maybe 10, around that age, and then this term like CEO like drifted around, right? And then I asked my mom, like, oh, what do like CEOs do? Oh, and I think she said something like, oh, they sit around and get paid a lot. And I was like, oh shit, like I want to do that too, right? Like I want to be one. So I was like, well, I want to sit around, like sit around, do nothing, and just get money, right? So I had that, and also another time was like I was walking through Chinatown in New York, and then I saw McDonald's, right? So I was walking with my mom. I looked up, and there was a McDonald's sign. And I asked her, I was like, yeah, I want to own like some kind of business like that one day, right?
You grew up in New York, right?
Yeah, New York City.
Okay.
And then so then my mom was like, yeah, but business is like, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of this and that. And I didn't hear that part, right?
Yeah.
All I heard was money and success, and I want a business. That's all I heard, right? I didn't hear none of what my mom was saying. So I had that desire to like, do a lot of stuff and all, but it was never really clear of like, what exactly I need to do and how to do it. So I had the dreams, I had the visions, right? But I never had the pathway. So that's where I came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what put you on that pathway? Because a lot of my viewers out there, they have dreams like you.
Yeah.
I had the dreams. I wanted to build an empire. I wanted to do something
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah.
But I didn't know exactly how to achieve that.
Yeah.
How to go from my current situation to my desired situation. What put you on that path?
What put me on that path? So I think it was what put me on that path? It's like I found it in the weirdest ways. So I think I was like, I had that rebellious attitude to always want to do something different. So how I started was like, I moved to the Netherlands. So another long story was like, I moved to Europe for 2 years to go to university for game design, right? Which is like completely.
So you
like,
went to college. Right?
Yeah, I dropped out twice, right? In both of them.
Twice.
Yeah, so that's
Most
like,
people only dropped out once, but you dropped out.
I dropped out twice, right? And this time for good, right? But like, it was like the first time I was going to college in New York, because in high school I went to Brooklyn Tech. I was just like dicking around.
You grew up in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I grew up in Brooklyn. That's awesome, bro. I was in Marine Park, but mainly I went to school in Manhattan. So it wasn't really Brooklyn. It was mainly Manhattan, right? But in high school I was at Brooklyn Tech. So at the time I was just like messing around. I wasn't really like doing much. I was like passing. I didn't really care, right? It was like the social, just pure social, right? And then afterwards, obviously, just like fun, like skipping class, whatever. And then after high school, right? Everyone's going to college. They're all like, oh, Harvard, this and that. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So.
Well, you just went to college because everyone else was going to college, and you thought.
Yeah, it was a community college too. Like I thought that was like scum of the earth. So I had to really put my ego down, right? Because then I was like, Like I wanted to go to like other states, NYU, all these big ones, right? But then since all I did was dick around, then I had to like submit my ego and to go to this community college, right? And then long story short, afterwards, I dropped out of that. It was a gaming design media. I was a big media creative person. That's what I like, right? And then I dropped out of that one because I got accepted into the school in the Netherlands, right? So basically, from there, once I moved to the Netherlands, it's a university. Now this one's more cool, right? Because I'm international. I expanded. It was a very bold move because then nobody in my family ever done that. Yeah, it was like a big leap out of my comfort zone.
That's what entrepreneurs need to do. They need to get out their comfort zone.
Exactly. So I had those traits, right? But I didn't put it towards like the entrepreneurial path, right? It was like my idea was that I was gonna create an app, like Flappy Bird at the time. My idea was this. I was gonna go to school for game design. I'm gonna have a team. I'm gonna make a famous ass app. I'm gonna sell it, and I'm gonna like live off my island. I'll be done, right? So that was my idea going into the game design. Now, obviously, it didn't turn out that way. So I was in the Netherlands. I was going to school, right? Socializing and like meeting new people, completely out of my comfort zone, but it was great. And I stumbled. Now this part is still kind of weird, right? So this is like the part where the entrepreneurial bug like starts going. Mm-hmm. So what I remember was like I had an Irish friend at the time, right? Irish. He's from Ireland, and he.
You're party animals, man.
Yeah, those guys are crazy, man.
Were you a party animal?
I was for the first 4 weeks, and then it just got boring.
You got yellow fever?
It just got boring, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was like the same old like, okay, we go out, we party, get wasted, and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
same
like
routine.
then it's just boring. Yeah, it's just boring. So basically, afterwards, I think I saw the book from his shelf, right? And I was like, I had this strange idea to tell my parents to get me that book.
What book?
It was Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? I'm pretty sure you guys know what that is.
That's my favorite book of all
right?
time.
That was the
Kiyosaki.
Yeah, Kiyosaki, man.
Changed my life.
Yo, exactly.
Changed my life.
And like, I didn't even know why
You have to read
I told
that book.
Exactly,
We're
highly
both
recommended.
Read the book.
And it was like, I still don't know why I told my parents to get it. I just told them to get it because they were visiting me at the time, right? So I told them, get me this book and let me read it. And once I read it, it was like a complete, I won't say not a complete paradigm shift, but like it was like it started the paradigm shift, right? It was like I was like, holy shit, right? Like I never thought of like this like business, wealth, money. Yeah, I was like I had no idea what all these vocabulary were, right? But it was like, oh, money works for you. You get rich. That's all I heard. I was like, oh shit, this is it, right? So from then on, I was like a fanatic in reading books.
Yeah.
I was like Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's the cash flow quadrant, right?
I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, that was like pretty good.
Okay.
And then from then it was just like books, right? So I thought books were like the key to success, right? And I was like, okay, if I read this, I could be like, if I had the thought that just because I read it and I know it, I would happen, right?
Yeah, but you have to take action.
Exactly.
That's what people lack. They don't take action. You know, you may be watching this right now, and I want to make a point about this after.
Yeah.
But they may be watching this now and say, wow, I can do that. I can be just as successful. But
yeah.
without action, nothing's going to happen.
Exactly.
So make sure you watch the end of the video, and I'll show you guys exactly how you can take action. But
yeah. So it's like, the thing about books is like, if you could just get rich by reading books, like we'll never leave the library. You get what I mean? Exactly. So books books wasn't like I thought it was the key, but it's just like it just helps you like take a few steps further, right? Or change something.
It gives you some gas.
Yeah, it's kind of like
you're the vehicle, you're driving the vehicle, and you want to get from point A to point B, from your current situation to your desired situation. And the books help you fuel you to that path. Exactly.
It's like exactly. You put it like gas stations, right? Like a pit stop, just to refill a little bit and then keep going. Exactly. That's what books are supposed to do. It's not like an instant like formula to like success, right?
Yes.
So
and books can be superchargers for all you Tesla fans.
But don't get too like bogged down in books.
Yeah.
So a quick note about books is that you don't want to just be a consumer of books, right? Because you can consume not a lot of knowledge, but obviously you don't do anything and nothing's gonna happen, right? But it's like a way that I found right now, the way I do books is like I have specific goals and specific visions, right? So I only read books and use books that serve me and on that path, right? So it could be like I remember I think last month I was reading the book called The Road Less Stupid, right? But then what I wanted to strengthen was communications, right? So that book helps with like thinking and rationale and like business critical thinking, right? But it didn't align with communications. So I actually paused it, I put it away, and then I got other books that align with like communication. So right now I'm going through Eugene Schwartz books, right? Like the Breakthrough Advertising and like the Brilliance Breakthrough. Anything that works with communication, persuasion, closing, all of that, right? So now I'm more selective about which books I read that actually help me and contribute towards my goals. So that's how you want to use books as a quick book tip. And circling back to the story now, so after consuming books, from my Irish friend, he was following Iman Gadji, right? If Iman, you're watching this, I love you, bro. But it was like he was watching Iman, right? And at the time, he wasn't this big yet. It was pretty big. It was like pretty decent, but it wasn't like that big. And I was just watching Iman's videos with my Irish friend is Alex, so I was watching it with him, and it just like I just got hooked onto his content, right? And then I bought his course, Influencer Ignited. That was my very first investment, and that was like scary as fuck.
How much was it?
It was like $995.
How much money did you have in your bank account?
Yo, I had to OPM it for my parents.
Listen to this.
Yo, I had like, so I come from a place of comfort, right? So I have like parental support, right? So I'm not like a rag to riches story. So it's like I had to OPM it, but then so I had to close my parents on lending me money. I had no closing ability at all, right? I just had like a passion. I was like,
Mom, I want to buy this.
It's like I want this. I know it's life changing. I can even remember like I was in my student room, and I was just like super passionate, nervous, like I had to do it, right? It's like that crazy, insane obsession. And then and it was very hard, right? But then I closed it. So she gave me the money. I invested into Influencer Ignited. Now I was like going through the course. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy, like personal brand. I didn't know what the hell. It was about personal branding, and like keep in mind, at the time I don't know what business is. I had no idea what it is, and I jumped into personal branding. Like that's just like the worst, right?
Yeah.
But at the time it was just like I didn't know what was best, so I thought this was it.
Because you can't make any money off of that right now.
Exactly,
unless
right?
You're trying to sell an info product or something.
Exactly. So I thought personal brand is like, because I think the way Iman marketed it, I forgot, it was like you could make money from your name, like a following, right?
And he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, right? But at the time,
someone just getting started.
Exactly. It just like it wouldn't make sense. But I was like, holy shit, I could use my name and who I am to make money. Like, why the hell not, right?
So you jumped the whole step. You skipped the money part. And you went
I just got personal branding. And I was doing a lot of Instagram bullshit at the time. Like I was like connecting with people and like commenting, thinking that was like doing something, but it's really just a waste of fucking time. So that's what it was, right? And then I was like, my genius plan was like, I'm gonna follow Influencer Ignited. I'm gonna build a personal brand, right? And then I'm gonna like teach people and sell like a product on how to do personal branding. So I was gonna sell people how to like maybe coaching or something like that on personal branding. So basically like recycling is bullshit, which a lot of people do, right? So that was my genius plan, right? But then I think later on as I realized like people, I was talking with some of the other students at Influencer Ignited, right? And they all had something else going on that was making them money. And they were personal brand, and they're building the personal brand off of that. And I realized I had nothing, right? Because I just had a personal brand, but then I had nothing that I could sell, right? So it was like, it's kind of like
I'm making any money, man.
Exactly. It's kind of like you have like a golden trash bag. It looks good, right? But then it's just like shit in the inside, right? That's exactly where I was, right? And then so then I was like, and then I also had this thought, because like I was at a course, I was just doing this alone, right? So I always felt that I had some kind of, I was missing the cutting edge on things. So then I actually invested into mentorship with Iman. It was like 1 month, right? Because I think 3 months was like 3K.
One-on-one?
Yeah, it was a one-on-one. I think it was like 3K. for 3 months.
Another thing, guys, you hear this. He's constantly investing in himself. That's how he
Yeah.
got to where he is.
What I had like no idea, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's like his dream mentorship was 3K. For me, okay, that was like way out of range.
Yeah.
I think because I was on a call with him, right? It was a closing call, but I didn't know what the fuck closing was, right? So I was like super hyped. So I was like, I could do it, but I mean, like 3K is too much. Maybe I can convince my parents again for 1 month, right? And he was like, I think he texted me. He was like, all right, well, that was like $995 for a month. And I was like, oh shit, I gotta like tell my parents again, right? So basically, I had to like convince them again. I had to close them again on investing into the mentorship with me, right?
They were just throwing money at you.
Right? And like I had to go through the same process, but then eventually, my mom was like, okay, and we did it.
Now, do you think them putting a bunch of money? Because this is one thing a lot of people like think. You know, in order to become wealthy, you need money. But do you think that when your parents were just throwing money at you, it was actually detrimental to you and your thought process because it was kind of like instant gratification when you were just getting money?
Well, good point. I think that really hit me that didn't really hit me until I started learning from Dan, right? But it was like, but I was just like, I just wanted to like succeed.
Locke, right?
Yeah, Dan Locke, right? I just wanted to succeed, right? So like they were always investing in me, but then like with the mentorship with Iman, like it was funny. He asked me, he was like, so what do you do besides personal branding, right? I said, I don't know, I just do this. He was kind of shocked. I remember his face. He was like, what the fuck, right? And then like, because he was doing digital marketing. I didn't know he was doing social media marketing,
SMMA, yeah.
right? I thought he was just doing personal branding, but I was like, oh shit, he's doing something else too.
And for the viewers who don't know who Iman Ghazi is, he's a social media marketer. He's 19, I believe. Yeah. And he last year, I think he did about $4 million with his agency. So he owns a 7-figure social media marketing agency, similar to what I'm doing, but I'm only at 6 figures. But I plan on getting there. But he's a great guy. I recommend you check him out as well. But,
yeah. So it was like, so I think Iman had to like put me on the right path.
Okay.
But and then at that time, I was also following Dan. So during his mentorship, I discovered Dan. And I discovered him in the weirdest places. So at the time, he wasn't that big. And I was just, doing my student thing. I was just browsing through YouTube, right? And I was following this men's style channel called Real Men, Real Style by Antonio Centeno. He's a good friend of Dan. And I was like, cool, let me check this out. It was something about money. And then it was a speech that Dan gave at his event. And I was instantly hooked because he was like super blunt, direct, like he just cursed. I've never seen someone curse like that on YouTube before.
Like Gary Vee.
Yeah, I think he's even crazier than Gary Vee. I think he was like, right now he's more toned down, but if you watch his older videos, he's actually there's more like swearing.
I've seen those videos, yeah.
Right? So I was instantly hooked and everything he said makes sense, right? Like high ticket, like charging 10K a client. I want to charge 10K a fucking client, right? Like, yeah, I want to do that, right? It just makes so much sense.
Can you teach me?
Yeah, I was like, how does he do that? But then I was learning from Iman, right? And it didn't make sense because like he was teaching like Influence Ignited was like you $150 an hour. Like how do I do 10K, right? There's like a disconnect. Yeah. So then during it was like the last week.
Like 3 extra zeros.
Exactly, right? It's just like I can't even fathom charging a guy 10K, right? So in like the last week with my mentorship with Iman, I actually also signed up to mentorship with Dan, and that was 2.5K.
And you okay?
And I had to do the parent closing again, right?
So at this point, you probably had what, 5, 6, like almost $7,000 from your parents.
Like a couple grand, not 7,000. I'll say a couple grand, maybe at least 5K.
Okay.
Right, at least 5K. I've made no money so far, right? So it was like I told Iman that I invested in Dan.
Did your parents believe in you?
I suppose, or otherwise they probably wouldn't have like gave me the money, right? So it was like, I think it was like that faith, because I think I'm very grateful for my parents, because they're not like typical, because I see like the other typical Asian parents. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man.
That's what I was picturing, like, wow, your parents let you do that? I was shocked.
Yeah, like I'm like
stereotypes.
Because like I'm like comparing, like, well, I'm like, holy shit, like my parents were like big part of my success was from my parents because of the belief and the faith, right?
Parents are great, but
Yeah.
hey, if you guys are with your parents right now, you know, they're still alive. Hug them, love them, because you never know when they're going to be gone.
Yeah. Like as where I am right now, like I give a lot back to them. And actually, like But back then I was like ignorant, like like they were like my cash cows and all that. Like it was just a bad mentality. Now it's like at this stage, like I'm more like giving back to them a lot and really like treasuring time with them. Despite sometimes they may give me like a lot of like little shites here and there, but I'm like, okay, but I know that their intention is that they just want to help you. They want what's best for you, but they may not know how, right? So if you're going through, let's say you have like parents or people who are not supporting you, or parents specifically, right? Like know that they just want what's best for you, but they may not know how. So because they're coming from their own perception and their framework of life. That's the best way they can help you, but it may not, because sometimes they just may not know what they don't know, right? So that's why they come in like that. But my parents were like, okay, they were like having faith, right?
Did they make you go to college?
No,
Okay.
it was my idea, but they want me to do something.
Okay.
So I thought college was like the way, right? And then, so I told Iman that I invested in a dance course, and then I think Iman like said like these two things stuck with me, right? He first said the hungry don't get fed, so that means like if you don't know what that means, it means people can smell bullshit and desperate. What's the
Desperation.
Desperation, yeah, from like a mile away.
100%.
So you never want to have that energy.
Exactly. Basically, what he's trying to say is, like for my agency, when I start getting new client referrals, I act as though I don't need those clients those prospects to become a client, because I already have a lot of cash flow coming in. So if you're desperate out there trying to chase down money, people are just gonna go away from you. It's opposite. It's like a mad race. They just go.
Yeah, exactly.
The opposite of mad race.
Exactly. And also the second one was because he noticed that I was like jumping here and there, right? So he said, okay, if you're gonna learn from Dan, you like just focus on him and just become the best at sales. And I was like, yeah, you're right, right? So that was like the end of the 4 weeks, and then I started learning from Dan. 7 weeks. 7 weeks intense. I had to wake up at 2 a.m. like every 2 or 3 a.m. every single day, live with him to like learn from him. 4 to 6 hours straight class, right? And then the next day I had school. So then I would like, it's like
You were still in college at the time.
I was still in university.
Okay.
Now by this time, like half, right? Most of my time is for closing, learning, and some school. It's like a scale.
Okay.
So now the more I work on this, school like dips. So basically, learning from that in 7 weeks, crazy intense, like learning how to close high ticket. And then, I still remember like my first, because he had a platform where you can role play with other of his mentees. So I remember my first role play, I was like nervous as fuck. Like talking over the phone to like another person was like, I was like nerve shaking, I was lost, like I had to try, right? It was like a big comfort zone push, like out of my comfort zone. And one thing that I got good really well, because I was starting from zero. So from going from zero to like average and like good is actually pretty simple, because no matter what, you just go up. So what I did to accelerate that, actually, this is what I thought. So I know that, so he teaches in seasons. So I was in season 2. So there was a season 1, right? So I had a thought that like I asked myself, like, how can I get good fast, right? I was like, I could role play with my season, but wouldn't it be better if I role play with season 1? Because they're probably more experienced and they probably know better. So I was like, why not I just leverage them, role play with them, so I could accelerate my learning curve. So that's what I did. Every week I only role play with those season 1s. I didn't role play with anyone in my season because I want to get good fast. So that's what I did. So because I know they're better than me. Yeah, I know they're better than me. They probably kick my ass, but it's for the better. So that's how my growth accelerated, right? And then now after 7 weeks, there's an offer to join the inner circle. I'm still not making any money right now, right? So then I'm like, holy shit.
You have to pay more for the inner circle.
Yeah, I need to join the inner circle. And who would I call? Oh, of course, my investors, right? so I give them a call again, and they were like, okay, after a long talk, okay, they were like, okay, this is the last thing, all right? Like, you have to make this work. Basically, that was the message. Like, I have to make this work. This is the last investment. I was like, okay, and there's like a monthly retainer too, $200 a month for inner circle, right? So like, this shit better fucking work. So I jumped into inner circle, and long story short, it took me about a year for money to start coming in. So from the time I started learning, right?
So explain to I have a good grasp of how you get your money. Explain to the viewers of how you started making money, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So at the time, once I joined my first major partner under a closing team, we closed for Brian Rose, London Real. Maybe you guys know London Real. He's big on YouTube. Look him up. And that was like my first money maker. So he has like different accelerators for programs. Like he teaches you how to build a business, life accelerator, like your habits, mindset and all that. Maybe how to start a podcast, like a lot of courses, right? They're like 3K courses, right? So I started with like cold calling, the lead list, and then setting appointments. And that helped me build my alligator skin. Although I didn't make that much money from it, it helped me build like my confidence on the phone, right? That's how I started. Because then I was nervous as fuck, right? Like picking up a phone was like a brick. Like it was like gravity was like somehow working against me. And I thought someone would like punch me through the phone or some wild limiting belief, right? So I started with cold calling a lot, and then I started taking it in. But then my first sale came in through an inbound appointment, and you always remember your first close.
Appointment, just for the viewers.
Yeah.
A lead puts in their information to schedule an appointment.
Yeah.
And then they make the appointment.
Exactly.
Just for the viewers.
So basically, I still remember my first close. It's like I was on the phone with him for like 40 minutes, right? And I closed him after. I was like, he gave me objections, and I was nervous as fuck, right? Because like I wanted a close so bad that like I just needed that first sale, because the first sale is like the most.
You were hungry.
Yeah, like once you break that first sale, like your mind just like shifts. So it's like I was like at the end of the call, right? He was giving me objections. He was asking me for a discount. I remember he asked me for a discount, right? And then I was like, okay, I remember what Dan told me. So I was like, okay, like what kind of discount are you looking for? He was like, maybe like $200 off, right? So I was like, oh, okay. So, and I was like, okay, so you don't mind? So you don't mind us taking off $200 worth of value, right? And I shut up. And he was like, I was like, no. I was like, oh, I forgot what he said. It was like a silence. I think he got the message, and he was like, oh shit. He was like, oh, okay, I see what you mean.
You're not bullshitting around.
Exactly, yeah, exactly, right? And then he asked me like where I learned sales from, because I think he was learning from Grant Cardone. Funny enough, right? We're in 10x. And then he's like, where did you learn sales from? He was like, yeah, I just redirected that point away and just focused back on him. And then but I remember that objection clearly. And then he was closed. How much was
the deal?
Okay, he was on a payment plan.
How much was the money, man?
Bro, it was like, okay, I was entering his credit card. I was nervous as fuck, right? Because I've never done that before. I was like,
it's a good feeling.
All right, he actually gave me his credit card over the phone.
Yeah.
And I was like,
you guys have to experience.
I was entering that.
You feel like a beast.
And I was like, okay, and he paid. And I was like, holy shit.
Money went through.
Close, right?
Yeah.
I did
first
it.
Sale, right?
That was my very first sale.
Okay.
It was a payment plan. Okay. And it was, at the time, his payment plan was $297 for 12 months.
So basically,
I get 10%. I get 10% of that.
So basically, you made $360 over the course of the 12 months.
Yeah, but then I still remember